Everyone, it's Neil at Creative Hut. In this session, I'm going to be giving you a demo of the Robo Wunderkind robotics set. And first of all, just to explain a little bit about what this is all about, it is a robotics set mainly for delivering coding through lots and lots of open-ended play, but there's a huge amount of cross-curricular value as well. You can definitely use this within storytelling, maths, art, design and technology, as well as the coding or computing curriculum as well. It's also brilliant for helping our pupils and children to develop those 21st century learning skills, and it's of course really fun, hands-on and engaging. It's a really great, easily adaptable building system, which you'll see for yourselves in a moment. So you can build lots of different robots really quickly and easily to carry out all sorts of different activities and challenges. It's suitable for ages mainly between 6 and 11, but it can definitely be used with kids older than that as well. Robo Wunderkind are actually constantly working on new lesson plans and activities that are going to be suitable for those older age ranges as well. Okay, so in terms of what you've got to work with in combination with the robotics set itself, at the moment there are two different apps, Robo Live and Robo Code, which I'll be showing you in more detail in just a moment. And there's also a third app coming very soon. So that is going to be Robo Blockly, which is going to enable you to also code the robots in icon-based Blockly programming, similar to things like Scratch, which you may already be familiar with. So that is coming very soon for Robo Wunderkind as well, which is great. And of course, to support you in using this at home or in the classroom, there's a huge amount of lesson plans and activities linked to those different areas of curriculum, which will give you basically everything you need to start using this with your children. Okay, so we are going to first of all take a look now at the hardware components we've got to work with, and then we'll come back to those apps which work in combination with this. I'm just going to change my view so you can see exactly what we've got to work with in the Robo Wunderkind set. So first of all, you've got the main block here. This is essentially what controls everything the robot does, what you send your code to. So you can connect to this via Bluetooth, and to this you can connect all the different modules to get the robot to do different things. So those modules we've got to work with are DC motors, okay, so we can control those to create the movement or actions of the robots. You've also got a servo motor, which you can use for different actions like that as well. We've got a distance sensor, so we can use that to sense and react to different distances in front of it. You've also got an extension connector module, which you can expand your robots and connect all these different parts to. You've also got things like input sensors, so we've got a button here, and there's also an RGB light which you can control, which is really useful for lots of different challenges as well. You've got the other components, connector components, which help you connect the different modules to the main block and everything else together. And then we've got wheel components. So we've got a simple trundle type wheel here and some larger wheels for the robots here as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all is now go back to the different apps we've got to use to control, and then we'll see, of course, the robots in action. So first of all, let's take a look at the Robo Live app. So of course you can connect to the robots via Bluetooth, but first of all I want to show you what else you've got to work with within the app. So it gives you some really great simple builds to start with. Okay, so you've got examples of simple things like defense towers, bouncing bots, trikes, rovers, and if I click onto any of these, it does give me a view of how I can build this. So I can move this around, taking a look at how all these different parts fit together to create it for myself. And it does usually give you all the components you're going to need on the side here. Once you've completed it and you're ready to start using the robot, I can click here, and it takes me through to the control interface. Now with Robo Live, this is similar to how it sounds. It's a live control app. So at this stage with this app, we're not going into creating sequences of code. We can just control the robot with these different icons. And I can build up all sorts of different things I can control from my panel on the left here. So I can bring in other motor controls if I'm working with multiple motors. I can bring in different light controls. And then more things down here, like the light LED screen, and of course different sounds. So I can just bring in multiples of these, and then when I'm ready to go, press play, and these become live for me to control. So I can use these as joystick type controls to get the robot to move in different directions, depending on what I want to get the robot to do. So this is great for starting to explore the functionality of the robot, getting it to move, and use those different lights and sensors, all those kind of things just straight away. So it's great for those younger children getting used to how we can, again, control the robot and get it to do different things. So that's brilliant for the Robo Live app. I'm going to save this project for myself at the moment. And I could also go into this section to access all my projects and just create brand new ones from scratch, rather than going into those pre-put together activities. So you've got different ways in which you can use that Robo Live app. Now switching to our Robo Code app, which is here. Again, I can just simply connect to the robot via Bluetooth here. And if I go to the icon here, again, it's got lots of example different builds that I can go straight into. Okay, so I could go through that same process of clicking onto one of these. Once I'm ready, again, I can maneuver around this to see how to put this together. But then once I'm ready, go into the actual coding interface. Now, the way the coding interface works with Robo Wunderkind, it is flowal type code. So you can see straight away, it actually gives you a piece of code which you can start to use straight away with your build, but then adapt. So of course, the idea within all the lesson plans and activities as well is that they will be creating and adapting their own code. But the great thing is with these example builds, it gives you some ready-made code to start using and debugging and adapting to see what else you can get it to do. So basically, to control this, I can click on any of these icons within here. So these, for example, are sound blocks for my code. So I can just adapt this into different sounds, which I'll show you how to do in a moment. This is controlling the motors, which is, of course, controlling the action of a robot. So I can actually control what distance it's moving at. So this is in centimeters from 0 all the way up to 100 centimeters, or I can just have it keep on going and going and going and going. I'm going to keep that around about 25 centimeters. I can also control the individual motors. So I've got two motors, for example. I can control which one is left and which one is right to make sure it's heading in the right direction. You can see you can actually connect multiple motors if you wish. And then this one here, of course, is controlling the speed of those motors as well. Next, I've got the control of the light, the RGB light function. So I can control this in different ways. This is actually set for blinking for so many times for a different amount of frequency. So I can be blinking 3 times once, or blinking 3 times twice, 3 times 4 times, etc. So I can adapt this depending on what I want it to do. Here we've got another movement block, and this is simply getting the robot to turn 90 degrees. And I can, of course, adapt this to be whatever I want it to be in terms of that turn as well. So really easy to start adapting this in different ways. But that's the example code. I can change this and add to it by using my control panel at the bottom here. So again, you can see I've got different sound icons I can use. Here is where I can change or bring in different lights, the RGB lights. You can actually have that as a constant light rather than a blinking light, depending on what is going to be most suitable for you and your project. Here we've got all the motor and movement blocks which we can control. This is special functions. We can actually bring in delays to our code. And last but not least, this is where we can bring in parameters and make use of that distance sensor. So there's lots of programming blocks that we can use to add to our code. So I'm actually going to show you as well how you can start to add to and adapt to this. So it might be, I want to bring in an additional sound. So at the moment, we're using the car horn sound here, but we could also bring in something like a robot sound as well. And maybe I also want to bring in another directional block. So I can bring in this and actually change it to moving forward this time for 50 centimeters. Okay, so these are the ones I want to add to my code. So what I need to do, of course, is start to connect these all together. So you can see we've got these connected arrows, which is creating the flow of the code moving from one block to another. And I can bring these into that flow by using this icon here. Okay, so now it is green on the screen, which means I can bring in new connections, simply clicking and dragging them across So I've got them all complete. But now I want to remove these ones because I want to go into a nice flow of code through all 5 of these blocks. So the way I remove these ones is now clicking on my trash can icon here, and I can just click on these to now remove those, and that is it. So now I've got my new complete code. I'm going to show you an example of code in action at the moment, but before I do, I think it's really useful to let you know that as well as the lesson plans and activities which will guide you through all sorts of different challenges, what you've got to help the children through those, and if they are just getting creative with their own robots, there's this great help icon here. So I click onto this, it gives me a breakdown and lots of information on what all those different programming blocks are and how I can use them. So it's a great tool to make use of as well. So hopefully that is starting to make sense on what you've got to work with, the supports you've got, and how those different types of control work in terms of the Robo Live and the coding through the Robo code. But now let's switch back to our video view, and I'm going to show you a quick build and the robot in action. So let's bring us back down to the components we've got to work with, and I'm going to build up a simple driving base type robot first of all. So just need to actually put that into there. You can see you get that nice noise to confirm that has connected okay. Another motor here, so I've got my main hub and 2 DC motors. I'm also going to bring in my distance sensor, just add some character to my robot, and of course I could be using that as part of my code as well. What I also want to do is obviously bring some movement into this. So on the actual DC motors, I can connect my wheels nice and easily like so. And one more on the other side, but I also want to give it a little bit of balance. Once I've got that one on, I'm going to use that trundle wheel at the bottom of my robot as well. So I've got a robot starting to take shape here. I'm actually also going to use the RGB lights on the back of my robot here. But for now, I'm going to remove these pieces and let's start to see this robot in action. Okay, so what I've got off the screen is the coding interface I was just showing you a second ago. So first of all, I do just need to connect to my robot. So I'm doing that now. Noise indicates we are now connected and ready to code. And I've got a really similar code set up in here for that first one I was looking at, where it's controlling the movements, sounds, and the lights. Okay, so let's send that to our robot. Hitting play on the code. So you can see I've got that sound file for the car horn. I'm also using the degree turn to get my robot to move. And then it's always going forward 20 centimeters each time it turns. You can also see I've got the RGB lights being controlled as part of that code as well. Okay, so it's as simple as that to get up and running with a build and a code for our robot. Now I'm just going to stop that code there because that was more of a free build, experimenting with what I can create and how I can control it. But what I also want to talk to you about is how we can start to bring this into different areas of the curriculum. So I mentioned that we can use this in things like language or storytelling. So let's have a look at a quick example of that. So what I've got here is the rabbit on the run book. So this is, of course, one of those classic tales, the tortoise and the hare. And we can use the Robo Wunderkind robots to help us bring this to life and help us to tell the story or retell the story using the robot to help us do that. So what I'm actually going to do now is get a little bit creative and adapt my robot for that. So what we've also got within the box is components like this, which we can use to create bases to build further on top of a robot, of course, using Lego. So these are Lego studs, which I can place more components onto. So what I've got here are a few pre-built bits of Lego. Let's try that again on top of my robot. There we go. Make sure you can see that okay. I'm also going to bring in a couple of other connect parts with my Lego pieces on. Just need to try and fit that into there behind my wheel, like so. One more on the other side, and with just a few quick adaptations, I've now got a slightly different robot which looks like a rabbit. So that's what I'm now going to use to help me think about and retell the story. Now, I'm just going to do a very quick example. We've actually got a new video coming out very soon of this lesson plan using a robot to retell the rabbit on the run story coming out very soon. So look out for that on our website and social media. I'm just going to really quickly show you how I've gone about this. So I've got a new code set up just off the screen. Again, it's really similar to that example code I was showing you on the RoboCode app. And I've also brought in another character to help me tell the story. So this actually is a turtle, but I'm going to use a little bit of an artistic license and imagine this as my tortoise. Okay, so of course, the first part of the story is beginning at the race. So I've got some few blocks set up to help me do that, and it's simply going to be a noise file to start the race, like so. Our rabbit then starts to race ahead, but gets a bit arrogant, takes a nap, allowing our tortoise to come into the lead. And then when the robot does finally start moving again, it's too late. Our tortoise has won the race. Okay, so that's a really quick example. Again, we'll be bringing out a video of all of this in a lot more detail in action very soon. So look out for that. But hopefully that started to give you an idea of what Robo Wunderkind is all about and how you can use it. And before we sign off, there's just another couple of things I want to make you aware of. So to help you in addition to this, what Robo Wunderkind are currently working on is a Maker Marathon program. So this is something that anyone can get involved with at home or in school if you are still in school at the moment. You can see the web link for where you can access this at the top of the screen here. And this is all about bringing people together and sharing examples of how they've got creative with their Robo Wunderkind robots. And this is all about combining it with all sorts of other materials. So hopefully you can just about see some of the examples we've got here. This is using bits of Lego and cardboard tubes together with the Robo Wunderkind sets to create a automated feeder for their cat, which is absolutely brilliant. We've got an example of here where you can bring it into art. So they've actually put on some components to help Robo Wunderkind create a painting. And this one's great as well. It's actually using the wheels as a pulley type system, almost like a gondola or chairlift. So you can see what they're actually pulling along on the bottom here, which again is absolutely fantastic in terms of the creativity they're using to use Robo Wunderkind in lots of different ways. So we'd absolutely encourage you to check this out on the website. They're also going to be delivering live webinars every Tuesday, which you can get involved with to find out more as well. So look out for those. But hopefully, this has helped you understand. Of course, what we want to make you aware of is the pricing options on this if you do want to get involved, if you don't yet have that Robo Wunderkind set. So there are some very affordable options on this. The main education core set, which we've just been looking at in the webinar, is what's on the screen here, priced at £190 excluding VAT. You can also go with the advanced upgrade kit option, which basically gives you a lot more sensors and components to work with in addition to that main core set. So if you've got any questions at all on these, please do get in touch with us and we'll be happy to help. Indeed, if you've got any questions whatsoever, please do feel free to contact us. Our main email address is on the screen now, which is info@creative-hut.com. You can also find out lots more about the Robo Wunderkind resources and everything else that Creative Hut do at our website. And please feel free to tag us in any work you're doing at home on our social media channels here as well. We'll be doing lots more of these videos, demos, tutorials, so look out for those on our website and social media as well, and we will hopefully see you online again very soon. But thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed that and found it useful, but bye for now. Thanks again.